Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome along to my new episode of Much Ado About Hockey, presented by me, Gregory Richardson, here on Puritans Radio. I assure you that there is nowhere you would rather be right now, because there have been 2 action-packed weeks of ice hockey with the Olympics, but some other countries, such as Finland and the United Kingdom, continued playing their domestic leagues during that period of time as well. Other nations, such as Switzerland, for example, did completely stop all proceedings due to the main events in Milano Cortina, and their national league resumed on Tuesday evening. I'm going to do a quick fire stories episode today, so sit tight and have your elephant ears ready, because otherwise you might miss something important. Also in store for you today is another referee's corner, as there are a few technicalities to discuss once again regarding Canada's late equalizer against Finland in the semi-finals of the men's event, which took place this time last week. Number 1. Between the 8th and 22nd February, the Olympics took place in Italy, and I have the pleasure to announce that both the women's and the men's events attracted large crowds. Everyone was passionate and seemed to be having a fantastic time, although I do not have exact figures to present to you. It is the medals that people will be most interested in, however, and the Swiss claimed the bronze in the women's tournament as they beat Finland 2-1 after overtime last Thursday afternoon, so on 19th February. The USA won the gold medal also with a 2-1 overtime victory against Canada, meaning that it finished USA first, Canada second, and Switzerland third. In the men's competition, there was a repeat of the opening afternoon's fixture in the little final, as Slovakia had to play Finland once again, and it was a completely different story this time around. Whereas the Finns fell to the Slovaks at the first hurdle on 11th February, they won comfortably on Saturday night to celebrate a well-deserved bronze medal as they improved massively as the tournament went on. If you haven't seen the score, the game finished 6-1 in favour of Finland, although the scoreline was flattered by 2 empty net goals scored by the Finns towards the end of the game. In the men's, the much anticipated Canada versus United States of America game went right down to the wire, but it was the Americans who claimed the gold medal for the first time since the Miracle on Ice in 1980. The USA scored a golden goal in overtime to seal the deal. 2-1 was the final score on Sunday afternoon as Johnny Hockey was chanted around the venue in memory of their former teammate who passed away on 29th August 2024, Johnny Gaudreau. It was an emotional moment which brought the American team and the crowd together after the game. Their star players will never forget the tragic car accident that happened that summer, and after winning the gold medal, sharing the moment with his jersey and Johnny's parents is certainly something that everyone in attendance will remember from the final day of the Olympics, amongst other parts such as an incredible closing ceremony. Number 2. On our island, so here in Great Britain, or in the United Kingdom if you prefer, the Belfast Giants are storming towards the Elite League title once again. Although the race for top spot is not over yet, the Northern Irish franchise's narrow 2-1 triumph over the Cardiff Devils at the Vindico Arena in Cardiff Bay last Friday gave them a 6-point cushion at the time, and they then hammered Dundee Stars 7-0 at home at the SSE Arena on Sunday afternoon, meaning that they extended their lead over the Devils from 4 to 7 points as the Devils only earned a single tally for a shootout loss over the Nottingham Panthers the weekend just gone. Having said that though, it is the Sheffield Steelers who are now in second place, trailing by 6 points. The Giants have 64 points and the Steelers have 58, although Belfast have one extra game to play. Number 3. As for the Coventry Blaze, both the team and their fans were left frustrated as the second leg of their Challenge Cup semi-final tie against the Belfast Giants was cancelled last week. After Coventry's flight was cancelled, the game was subsequently rescheduled for Wednesday, 4th March, with face-off scheduled for 7 p.m. Just in case you haven't clocked it, that is the Wednesday coming up, and there may still be tickets available, although I am not entirely sure on that one. So you might want to double check if you are still interested. As for the Nottingham Panthers, they gave themselves a scare, but they eventually earned themselves a place in the 2026 Challenge Cup final as they won 5-4 on aggregate on Wednesday. On the night, the Steelers won 4-1 in regular time to force overtime at the Utilita Arena before Brian Lemos became the hero for Nottingham as he scored just 25 seconds into overtime, meaning that Danny Stewart's team will be participating in yet another final. The date of that all-important final is as yet unknown because we still await the result between Belfast and Coventry next week, and the date for the final will still need to be confirmed thereafter. But stay tuned because I will eventually be able to give you that information. Number 4, back to the Elite League and the Coventry Blaze. Our local side claimed a 4-point weekend, but they are still sitting in 6th place as the Manchester Storm unexpectedly blew away the Nottingham Panthers in Altrincham 5-1 on Saturday night. Meanwhile, the Blaze beat the Stars for the 3rd consecutive time this season, thus overturning a 2-0 deficit in the head-to-heads from earlier this campaign. The Stars kept it tight, and it was only an empty net goal 2 seconds from time that guaranteed the Blaze the win at the Dundee Ice Arena on Saturday evening. On Sunday, the Blaze beat the Manchester Storm at home after overtime as a brilliant breakaway led and finished by Colton Saucerman enabled the hosts to claim the golden goal, although that did not result in an Olympic medal this time. Despite 2 more victories added to the W's column, Kevin Moore's team still remain 3 points behind Critchlow's men, with time running out to catch them up. Although there are still home games to be played for the Coventry Blaze, and I'll tell you more about that later on in the show. Number 5. In Europe, the Champions Hockey League final takes place on Tuesday as 2 Swedish teams battle it out for the European crown. Frölunda Gothenburg take on Luleå on Europe's biggest stage. Frölunda are the hosts as they were the higher seed after the conclusion of the semi-finals, which saw Switzerland's Zug and Sweden's Brynäs eliminated once the aggregate scores had been added together. Face-off for this season's Champions League final is scheduled for 6 p.m. GMT and is available to watch live on IHF.tv. The referees for Tuesday's final are Mikael Holm from Sweden and Austria's Christoph Sternert. 2 Scandinavians are running the lines, and they are Sweden's Ludvig Lundgren and Finland's Tommy Niitila. A few interesting facts regarding this final have come to my attention as I follow Champions Hockey League on my social media. The first ever CHL final in 2015 was between Luleå and Frölunda. It is the third CHL final for Luleå, but the first on the road, so away from home. And lastly, Frölunda are unbeaten in their last 4 CHL games. I'd also like to take this opportunity to draw your attention to some key statistics. Both teams have scored an average of 2.83 goals per game. On average, Frölunda have conceded 1.58 goals per game, whereas that number is up to 2.08 for Luleå. Frölunda have a big advantage on the power play as 23.08% efficiency plays a 17.50 success rate. However, Luleå's box play could have that covered as they kill off 90.24% of the penalties called against them, whereas that figure is only 88.10 for Frölunda. Those are exceptional box play statistics, and once again, the key will probably lie in which of these teams can exploit any indiscipline on the night. It promises to take your breath away, so sit comfortably with some popcorn and enjoy the European final as this season's 2 best teams go head-to-head for 60 minutes and maybe more to take the prize away from Switzerland for the first time since 2024, as Geneva won it this time 2 years ago and Zurich lifted the trophy in February 2025 on home ice, so at the Swiss Life Arena. To live stream the European finale on the IHF website, it should be no more than a £5, just in case you are interested in tuning in to that one. Looking ahead to the next season then, and Davos, the annual Spengler Cup hosts from Switzerland, are the sole team to have already guaranteed themselves a place in the draw for the 2026-27 campaign, which traditionally takes place in May, as they are top of the tree with 105 points in the National League, still with 5 matches to play in the regular season, which comes to an end on Monday 9th March. In case it is not clear, they have been head and shoulders above everyone else in Switzerland this campaign, and they will certainly be a team to keep an eye on come the end of August. Matej Stronsky from Czechia will certainly be licking his lips at the prospect of competing against Europe's finest, especially as his Olympics team fell just short of a shot of a medal last week in Milano Cortina. Referee's Corner. Today, I would just like to take the time to explain an incident that occurred in the dying moments of regulation as Finland and Canada battled it out for a place in last Sunday's Olympics gold medal game. Canada won a power play, which was controversial in itself, as Mackinnon should also have received 2 minutes for embellishment. But anyway, Finland's box play did a great job of dumping the puck out of their defensive zone and back up the ice. On the rush, a Canadian player was ahead of the play, waiting for the puck carrier just in front of and on the blue line. And that led to a goal a minute or so later, which made it 2 apiece at the time. The Finnish coach, Antti Pennanen, was well within his rights to coach challenge for offside, and it was close, extremely close. Just to remind you, the puck has to fully cross the blue line before both skates of any player can enter the offensive zone. Otherwise, it is offside on the play. At the time, so in real time, I thought it looked dodgy, and some people subsequently took to social media to question why Finland were allowed to make this challenge, as a lot of time had indeed elapsed after Canada had entered the offensive zone and before the goal was scored. I would like to point out here, for those who may not know, that the time on the clock is irrelevant, as it was the latest or the most recent entry into the offensive zone or past the offside lines, which are marked by blue lines and are 30 centimetres in width. Therefore, the coach challenge was allowed, and it was close to potentially being ruled out, as it was extremely tight, as aforementioned. Had it have been deemed offside after video review, the officials would have rewound the clock a minute or so to the exact time at which the offside occurred. Anyway, the players' skate and the puck were more or less in line, frame by frame, and it really was a matter of millimetres, maybe even less than that. In the end, it was deemed to be inconclusive after video review, meaning that the on-ice call stood and it was a good goal. Again, just in case you are unaware, there has to be clear evidence to be able to overturn the initial decision in such situations. The other controversial element of this outcome was that Finland were given the standard 2-minute bench minor penalty for delay of game due to the incorrect coach's challenge. Now, it was not incorrect, so to speak, as it was a tight call. It was unclear, as evidenced by how long the linesman spent looking at it. It is in the rules that an incorrect coach's challenge results in a 2-minute penalty. However, I feel that such a call is very harsh in these situations, or in others where the cameras may not clearly show whether it was or was not offside, which is why I feel there needs to be a slight amendment in the rules. It would be a lot more fair if an obvious wrong decision to challenge was a 2-minute penalty, and when unclear, like Friday afternoon, there is no penalty. It was a goal that subsequently had a huge impact in the game, with both sides chasing an Olympic gold medal. Finland skating 5-on-5 after a logical but unsuccessful coach challenge could have scored in the time remaining, which was 30 seconds or so, as I remember. I emphasise once more that I know the officials were following the IIHF International Tournament rules, although they seem irrational in such moments. Right then, before I bring proceedings to a close, I would just like to mention 7 dates for you to put into your diary, especially if you are a keen follower of the Coventry Blaze. That is because Kevin Moore's Dragons have just six home Elite League fixtures remaining, and there is also that postponed Challenge Cup second leg game still to play. So make sure to listen carefully, because I'm going to list these days and dates in chronological order for you. Tomorrow, so on Saturday, 28th February, the Coventry Blaze host the Guildford Flames at the Skydome Arena at 7 p.m. Then, on Wednesday, 4th March, also at 7 p.m, the Blaze make their way over to Northern Ireland for that all-important clash against the Belfast Giants. In case you had forgotten, the Blaze are just about in pole position with a narrow 3-2 lead, but anything can happen with such a small margin over the course of 60 minutes. So everything is all to play for in that Challenge Cup semi-final clash. Then, on Sunday, 8th March at 5:30 p.m, the final home derby between Coventry and Nottingham takes place, and that has also been announced as Retro Night. The Blaze are going to be wearing a white or light cream strip with Coventry handwritten in blue across the midriff, with the Blaze logo on the right at the top if you were wearing the jersey. Players' names will be in navy blue, as will their numbers. That promises to be a cracker and a spectacle, with the last few games between the two sides going to overtime. So make sure to be there that evening. The Blaze then host the Clan and the Flyers, both from Scotland, on consecutive Saturdays, and both times at 7 p.m, before playing against the Devils for the final time at 5:30 p.m. on Sunday, 29th March. Now, listen up, because I accidentally made a mistake last week when saying that the final round was taking place on Sunday, 6th April. It is Easter Sunday, as I said, but that Sunday is actually the 5th of April, and the Belfast Giants will likely be seeking to seal their league title in Coventry that night, if they have not already been confirmed as champions before then. That could be an interesting evening as well, with final rankings regarding the top 4 etc. to play for. So, if Easter Sunday is not already planned in the diary, a trip to the Sky Dome that afternoon would well and truly be worth your while. Right then, thank you very much once again, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to my sports feature this week with me, Gregory Richardson, right here on your favourite radio station, Puritans Radio. Tomorrow is officially the last day of winter, at last, which means that Sunday, which is St. David's Day, is the beginning of meteorological spring. This also means that the most important time of the ice hockey season is just around the corner, with plenty of twists and turns still possible. So do not go anywhere. Make sure to tune in again, same time, same place, on Friday, 13th March, when I'll be back for more Much Ado About Hockey. For now, though, it is time for me to hand you back to your host, Ian Fleming, for the remainder of today's show. Have a great weekend, everyone. Ta-ra, and take care.